Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. Today in War Thunder, it is time to talk about a new in the files part for the dev server. Now, after the second dev server finished, there was a further 1 GB update to it. Now, generally this happens between the second dev server and the live patch, and it changes certain things in the game, which then when it hits live, we actually get told about. So hopefully this document from Father Gentlespie will go through the things that were changed, and therefore we can understand them before the update hits live. This is why it's always kind of annoying covering dev server stuff, because you know that it isn't final, which is why I have the disclaimer at the start of the video, just so people understand. Anyway, let's get to it, and once again, thank you to Father Gentlespie for putting this together for us. It is very kind of him to do so, to take time out of his time to be able to make this for everyone. So the first part is the MiG-17 AS. The BR has changed from 8.7 to 9.0. So this brings it in line with the MiG-17 and also brings it in line with the Shenyang, the premium machine for the Chinese. Now, the same problem is still there, where the MiG-17 AS has air-to-air missiles, and the MiG-17 doesn't. So now you're weighing up, the MiG-17 AS has air-to-airs, but the MiG-17 standard in the tech tree has access to different styles of ground attack munitions. So therefore, at least it's a little bit better than it was before, with the AS being 8.7. But we also need to see how it's coming into the game, because we still don't know whether it's going to come in as a future bundle for an update or as something different, since it is a Cuban MiG-17. Overall, though, putting it at 9.0 is a much better decision than what it was before, makes it a lot less pay to win compared to before. The MiG-19 PT has been given some new loadouts, so we have the Fab 100s, Fab 250s, the S5K rockets, and the general modification costs have been decreased. And of course, as you put in more modifications, if you didn't know, there's like a total amount of modification costs for a tier of modifications. So if you have like 3 modifications for your tier 1, then it's going to cost the same overall as if you had 5 tiers. Oh, sorry, if you have 5 modifications at tier 1. So the price is spread out between the more modifications. So if you have more modifications for a machine, then the individual modifications are cheaper, depending on the tier, which is good. So the MiG-19 is getting access to 100 kilos, 250s, and some S5K rockets. So ground ordnance, which, to be honest, I don't think anyone's going to use that much, unless they're maybe trying to grind it out in a realistic. Or maybe even during confrontation. The Scout Age Mark 1, the SL price has decreased from 550 to 390k, so that means it's much easier for people to get into helicopters. I'm happy about that. The British helicopter tree is a little bit bare bones right now, so giving them a Scout helicopter, which is a little bit cheaper and still has access to stuff like 80 gems, I think is a good move. The only problem with it is the fact that the premium helicopter for the British is still the best helicopter in the tree, which I generally am against. The Object 685 has its BR decreased. It was 9.7, now it's 9.0, and also the overall mod costs have been reduced, which brings it in line with it going down in BR. So the Object 685, in my opinion, had no reason to be at 9.7. It had the same rounds that the T-55A has access to, which is a lot lower BR. It had the same speed as the 906. As we saw, the turret rotation was increased in the last Datamine that we had, but also the reload. The reload is still long for that 100mm. So putting it at 9.0 at least gives it a chance now. Before, I saw it much more like a Sturm S, where when it came to the game, I don't know why anyone would have used it, to be honest, but now you can run it in that 9093 lineup, mainly 93, I think, and use it as an aggressive supportive scout with that APF SDS. So now at least they've made it reasonable for people to use, and I think eventually it'll end up either at 90 or 93. I don't think it will go down, and if it does go down, it'll become an incredibly good vehicle. But right now, when I look at it, 90 fits it a hell of a lot better than 97, where it would just get crushed by MBTs. The Striker has received the night vision device upgrade, so there you go. Same with the Warrior. I saw a lot of people were asking for the Warrior to get its NVD upgrade. Well, it does now. Unfortunately, we can't show it on the dev server, therefore we're going to have to see it on live. The weirdest change to me, the CM11, the BR has increased from 9.0 to 9.3. Now, the CM11 is, in all intents and purposes, an M60 chassis, M48 turret, and, you know, a 105 with the M1 Abrams fire control system. The round that it has is good, but it's no better than some of the 8.7 rounds that we have out there. The reload is great, you know, at 5 seconds, but it's still a very large target, and it still doesn't have a lot of the features such as, you know, the Leopards have, such as the speed, or the OF40s with their speed, or the MX-30 Super, you know, with its speed. So it's kind of odd seeing it go up to 9.3, unless they're planning to change how its ERA works, because its ERA right now, you can machine gun it off. So I disagree with it going up in BR. It also means that you now have even pushed it further away from the other two vehicles that are around its BR. Before, since it was 990, you could maybe bring the 8.7s with it. Now, those 8.7s are just going to get up-tiered hard with the CM11. So I would have kept it at 9.0 just because of the limitations of the M60 chassis. The fact that it is too slow to be able to keep up with a lot of the top-tier MBTs. So along with the glass addition of armor class, we now have the addition of armor class of the aluminium alloy 635, so 6.35 millimeter thick. This is either for some form of armored car, or it's for some kind of helicopter, maybe even a ship at some point, who knows. And then the biggest change, which is one of the most depressing, is the Type 59D. The ERA has been nerfed against kinetic ammo. It's buffed against cumulative. So the turret was 313 millimeters versus heat. Now it's 370, so that's good. The hull went from 171.5 versus kinetic to 5 millimeters, and from 406 millimeters cumulative to 370. So that basically means that the turret is now better against chemical rounds, the hull is better against chemical rounds, but the kinetic protection, e.g. AP, APF-SDS, has gone down to pretty much 0. Now this brings it in line with all of the other 8.7s. The only good ERA against stuff such as, you know, AP or kinetic rounds is the Contact 5 that we see from the Soviets, or at least, you know, comparatively to everything else. And I thought the Type 59D, one of the nice reasons to use it, you know, it would be this nice, you know, it would be this nice ERA, but now it's just a T54A with slightly better uses against heat FS, which at 8.7 you don't really see a lot of because of the fact that people are slinging APF-SDS. So it's kind of sad for it. I thought it would be a little bit more chunky than it is. Hopefully the turret is still good. It doesn't seem like there were any changes to the turret when it came to the kinetic, so we'll have to see, you know. But right now, this is sad to see for it. If it's a historical, realistic change, fair enough. But yeah, it's kind of sad. There were slight FM changes to the AH-1Z, the BR-105CB2, the BR-105PAH-1, and the PAH-1A1. So we'll see how those affect the machines going forward. There were plenty of FM changes for the Cauldron CR714 I am looking forward to see what those are about. The CR714 is a French aircraft. It looks incredibly long compared to what it should be, and also at the same time, it never felt like it stayed in the air very well. It felt like one of those planes which didn't want to fly, and it was unfortunate for it, and it added to the French tree, which at the time was not really fun to play. It still isn't that fun to play at those low tiers. There are a few hidden gems, like the VG-33, but yeah, maybe with these, the CR714 becomes one. There were slight changes to the rudder and the flap of the CW21. You could definitely fling that thing around crazily. I'm hoping you can still do that, because it's looking like one of the Chinese planes that I want to play at low tiers, but we're going to have to see. The F4C Phantom, the F4C Phantom 2 has lost its parachute. So it's extremely small buffs to its high altitude thrust at 500 meters from 0.91 to 0.92, so not really much, and changes to its landing gear as well. So losing its parachute is actually a big deal. It basically means that you're going to have to slow down a hell of a lot more to be able to land. Now, the majority of the time, in jet combat, normally, unless it's a close game and there's like 1 or 2 people left, you don't normally land. So it's not a huge deal, but for either custom games or for those matches which are really close where you do have to land, it's going to make a big difference, because slowing down the Phantom is not exactly easy to do. There was more changes to the F-89B and the F-89D, so we're going to have to see that when it hits live. I'm kind of worried about those aircraft because they've been changed so much over the last, a few days or so. It's very hard to see what they're like, compared to the first dev server. The F4U lost their cockpit open and close ability. Why? That's why. There's no reason for that. The big changes to the G-Lynx's governor. Okay, so basically how it's going to fly, and the automated systems behind it. The HO229 changed quite a bit, at least code-wise. Okay, so we'll see how that affects it. There was a new flight model for the I-16 Chung 28. Now, this is the Chinese I-16 Type 28, which they're getting. And I'm going to have to do a little bit of a more deep dive to see the difference between it and the I-16 Type 28 the Soviets had. But before, it just copied over the flight model. So now if it's independent, it probably flies a little bit differently, and we'll have to see what it is. A ton of FM changes to all I-16s. My guess would be that would just be the new FMs coming in for the Chinese ones, or it might be slight differences in how they fly. The J72, the mass is going to be decreased from 5800 to 5512 on empty, and landing gear is changed in the same style as the F4Cs. So we'll see if that helps it land or if it makes it harder to land. But since it's now lighter, it should be able to accelerate faster with that large engine that it has. The Lynx Edge Mark 1, it's got similar governor changes to the G-Lynx, so we'll see if that either affects its acceleration or affects its maneuverability. The MBR2, the engine has been changed from a radial to an inline, and the powers have been increased by 20 horsepower. So not a huge deal, but it's nice to see the MBR2 get a little bit of help. The Mi-35, the old April Fool's one, hello, received a new fly-by-wire mode. Not exactly sure what that is. For me, I believe the fly-by-wire mode is a pseudo automatic system where now don't quote me on this because I can't remember exactly what it is, but it's like when so you input into the machine what you want it to do, and then the machine itself collaborates with you to work out how to get to the best resolution to do what you want to do. If that makes sense. And this is happening to the H1Z, the Mi-24P, the Mi-24V, Mi-35M, the SA-13B, or 313B, and of course the Huey. So pretty much everything. Then there was massive changes to the MiG-19's FMs, so we're going to have to see what those are. The MiG-21 F-13 has the same landing gear changes as the J-7, so all of the top-tier supersonic jets now, the Mach 2 jets, have got these same landing gear changes. They're changing the MiG-3's FM, of all things. These small changes to the Scout Mark 1 Heli. Then governor changes to all Eurocopter Tigers. So pretty much all of the dev server stuff on the helicopters is completely useless at this point. Like they've changed. Well, it depends how drastic the changes are, but the fact that they've changed a lot of the speeds and also a lot of how the machines maneuver, it pretty much makes a lot of it redundant, unfortunately. The Vampire FB52A received its own FM. I'm sure it was sharing the one from the British one, and the F4C Phantom has received some changes to its presets. So you now can take the AGM-12Bs and the AIM-9s, nice, the AIM-9s by themselves it seems, and then Zuni rockets and other combinations, mostly pylon changes. A lot of people have asked, at least me and others, why we can't get a system where you can choose which pylons to put what, kind of like the system you see in DCS. And when we've actually talked about it, generally the response is the reason why it would be a bad idea to do that is so you can balance the vehicles through presets. And therefore, if you don't do that, and you just let people take whatever they want, it's going to kind of break the game in a way, because people will find the most efficient thing to do, and then they'll just do it over and over again. And that argument I definitely have some sympathy with, and especially as we go into more and more the modern era, we're going to have those conversations more, because you don't want stuff breaking the game as easily as that. The Hipper. So the big heavy cruiser for the Germans, they've nerfed the amount of health on its ammo rack, so it'll explode easier. So they increased the health of the general armor, they decreased the crew population, and they've also nerfed the amount of health on the ammo rack. So overall, it's got some buffs, it's got some nerfs. We're going to have to see how it ends up on the live server. The T62 II lamp has been corrected, so now it comes out of the lamp instead of the gun. So it changed to the Type 86. Can you imagine it coming out of the gun? The Type 58 mantler armor has been increased as well to 90 millimeters. Okay, that's quite a decent change. The AMX-30 Super stabilizer no longer affects turret traverse speed, so that's the same for the Leclerc, the AMX-40, the MBT-70, the 2A4, 2A5, and 2K. So they're getting rid of the slower ability of the turret because of the stabilizer. So now they're gonna, they should whip even harder. So have fun with those increased traverse speeds. The KPZ M48A2C and the M48A2GA2, so the two one of the new German M48s and the old one, they both get their IR lamp, good stuff. The Ariete stabilizer no longer affects the yaw speed, so same as these ones, gonna have to watch out for that. The guns are just gonna get on target much more quicker now, so yeah, have fun. The types, and there's also no reason to not run a stabilizer right now. There, at least before there was. The Type 74G has got its IR lamps, that's nice, and so does the Type 87. The Type 90 has the same thing with the stabilizer, doesn't affect its traverse speed. The Churchill Mark 7 sight FOV changed to 16 degrees. So I'm guessing that's what you see when you zoom in. You see 16 degrees worth of sight, which is not a lot if you think about it overall. The Challenger Mark 1 and Mark 3, the stabilizers no longer affect traverse speed, so it looks like they're changing pretty much everything at top tier to do that. Ooh, the Chieftains. So the Chieftains get their IR lamps, all of them. Good stuff. The Striker gets its MVD device, as we talked about. Thermal vision for the Gunner is 500 by 300, so really low res. The IR for the Commander, 1600 by 1200, good stuff. The IR for the Driver, same as the Gunner. Oh, sorry, it's not. It's even worse. It's 3 and 1, 800 by 600. No, it's slightly better, sorry. The exact same MVDs are added to the Warrior. So that's overall good. You'll still be able to scout very effectively in it. The M1 Abrams and the Bradley, their stabilizer no longer affects traverse. Good. The M68-2 IR lamp light comes out of the lamp instead of the gun barrel. The M901, the speed to fire the ATGM has changed from 11 to 1 kilometer an hour. Right, so you're basically just not moving with that if you're firing the ATGM. That sucks. So its battle speed is 1 kilometer an hour. Like, why even bother? The XM1 and the XM803, the stabilizers no longer affect the yaw turning speed, and the Sturm can now change ATGM type while reloading. So you could actually do this on the first dev server, but what it would do is it would reset itself every time that it came up. And I'm just wondering, like, is that going to happen again, or how is the animation going to look? Because otherwise, you're going to have a situation where you can change the ATGM halfway through a reload, and that doesn't really make a lot of sense, because you can basically cut a specific reload in half by doing it. So yeah, and that's all tied to the animation. So we'll see how the animation works. The BMP 1 and 2 have got a fixed position IR lamp. The Object 120, IT1, 268, 685, 906, T10M, T55AM, T55A, the T62, T62M, T64B, and T64A, they're all getting fixed position IR lamps, so that's good. The Tunguska has got its IR lamp and an MVD system. The IR is 800 by 600, so not great, and the driver IR is the same. The 127mm ITO top speed has been buffed from 250 to 296. That's a good speed boost, you know. Talking about 50 meters per second, that's like nearly 20%. The 37mm of the M5s and the M6 DeMar formula penetration constants increased from 0.9 to 1, so they should be able to pen a little bit more, even though they don't really need to. The M60A2's grenades fire 4 times slower. How weird. And fixed a few weird bugs, such as their max distance being 2 kilometers for explosion. Now they explode right in front of the vehicle 10 meters. 2 kilometers! So you could like throw them off a cliff, and and they would, if they traveled 2 kilometers, they would explode. That's crazy. So the 75mm QQF Mark V APC-BC now uses the DeMar formula, so that's a British round. The 102mm 4-inch Mark 15 naval cannons received a new HE shell. Okay, HE with a distance fuse. I generally don't get that to work too well, so therefore, and it seems to be on all of the 102mm and the 120s as well. So we'll see how it affects it. The fixed caliber of the 203mm Type No. 1 cannon is from 203 to 200. Then they've added a new gun, the 37mm Type 4 for ships. I'm pretty sure that's the one which is on the new premium boats, the Model 4 Type 4. Otherwise, it wouldn't really make a lot of sense. The 37mm Type 94 cannon top speed of all bullets has increased from 583 meters per second to 676. So once again, quite a large muzzle velocity increase. And then the Hot 280 gem caliber fixed. It's from now 130 to 150, so they made it larger. So I'm guessing that'll affect its hitting stuff and also stuff hitting it. And the Hot 380 gem caliber mass increased from 23.5 to 24.5, and the penetration has been increased from 900 to 1250. Okay, so nothing's stopping this. Like, nothing was really stopping it before, but now you have doubly made sure that nothing is going to stop this. 1250 millimeters of pen on a Hot 3. The AGM-12C, so these are the bullpups found on the Phantom 2. Their fire delay has been increased from 0.3 to 0.4, and the initial launch speed decreased from 40 meters per second to 1 meters per second. So they're pretty much just going to drop and then go. So that'll be nice to see. And as Father Gentlespie says, that's all. Expect a patch in a couple of days. And he's right. Normally they make these changes after the second dev server, and once all of these changes are made, then it's going to the live server. And it's nice to see that the majority of stuff which needs its IR lamps or needs its IR has been added. It's kind of a surprise that they're getting rid of the stabilizer affecting traverse speed, and also all of the gun stuff looks kind of interesting as well, but nothing which should do anything massive apart from maybe the hot missiles, but you were going to run them anyway, so you're just getting more damage for your buck. Anyway, I hope you all have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time. I'd just like to thank Ambrosius McClellan, B. Young, Blackie, Daniel Stanton, John Ryman, Joseph Anders, Martinez, Mopar 1969, Moxie, Super Cacti, Uyans Terry, and Elove Goats, and of course Seductive Trash Can for supporting the channel.